Hey guys. So as you probably heard, Disney has made their final bid for Fox, and they're going to acquire 20th Century Fox Film, TV studio, and channels, and pretty much everything Fox has. Excuse me. I think the Justice Department still has to okay this deal. From what I've heard, Comcast is pretty much out, and this seems to be pretty much a done deal. Which means that Fox, again, owned by Disney, and Disney is now going to own, add to their cinematic Marvel universe, X-Men, and so on. And I just wanted to talk about my feelings about that. First off, I really hope a lot of people at Fox do not lose their jobs because of this deal. I mean, because here's the thing. Corporate takeovers can be quite nasty and often cutthroat, and someone may lose out on that, and all this that's been going on, I think a lot of people have been forgetting that. Now, as for Disney owning Fantastic Four, Fox has tried the franchise for a while now. These two movies and a recent one that came out a while ago. These two, they're decent entertainment. I enjoy them for what they were. I feel that they did a good job with casting for Thing and for, Human Torch. And, of course, he's Chris Evans has moved on to bigger things, but he was still a great Johnny Storm for a while there. And I can't say I much care for their Doctor Doom, but whatever. It would be, I admit, nice to see a comic book accurate Fantastic Four done in Silver Age. These two, again, entertaining. The more recent one, I didn't really even bother watching it. Honestly, in some ways, I think the never meant to be shown in theaters Roger Corman produced one is probably one of the better Fox movies and has the only comic book accurate Doctor Doom. Anyways, I want to move on to the X-Men movies, and again, this is all my opinion here. And in my opinion, at the end of the day, despite what all the haters say, we have some good Fox X-Men movies. But unfortunately, just a lot of people have just hated on them. Some hated just because it wasn't owned by Marvel. Some hated, for other reasons, Some of the complaints I can see, but some of it just got so nasty, and some of the fanboys were just so mean about it and downright bullying about it, and I hope these people, all these people that were negative about this, I hope a result of this again is not people losing their jobs, and I hope the people who wanted this so bad they were mean to Fox movies, I hope they can come to terms with all this if people do lose their jobs. So just think about that for a minute there. But anyways, let's go on to the movies. Now, in my opinion, X-Men, which came out in 2000, and X-Men United They Stand, X-Men 2, which came out in 2003. These remain to me the two best X-Men movies ever made. The first one, the first one I felt really got into, what it is to be, a mutant and an outsider, and we get everything we need to know about the X-Men universe. We got to see things from Magneto's point of view, and stuff like that. And yeah, okay, we didn't have a powered-up Storm, but I appreciated a younger Storm because it was focusing more on Rogue, a younger Rogue. Because it was focusing on the main thing about X-Men, which is, teens who are just, going through puberty and the difficulties of puberty and how life is changing them. And, so making Rogue younger is kind of picking up on this. I mean, I discovered X-Men through the animated series that came out in the 90s, which, in my opinion, is good, just as good as some of these movies. At that time, I was a teenager, and I think that's when a lot of us really discover X-Men and really get into it, because you're at that sort of middle point. And I think that's, again, in my opinion, the best time to discover X-Men, because you're at that middle point of your life. You're no longer a kid anymore. You're halfway to being an adult. You're going through a lot of changes, physical, mental, a lot of other changes. And it's a difficult process for some. So that's why I felt we got the younger Rogue. I thought it was one of the great moments with her is when she sees on the train a mother touching her son's face, and we can feel how she's thinking, I'm never going to have this ever again, because if I touch them, they're going to go into coma, I get their powers, all sorts of things happen. So she's dealing with this, and it's a nice little subtle moment there. And again, since I brought up the animated series, as we have heard a little bit, that, the creators of this movie pretty much binge-watched the animated series, and that was able to get them a lot of X-Men history, because the 90s series, had adapted a lot of, X-Men comics from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and early 90s. And, watching all that, the creators were able to go into this kind of knowing the basics and the world of the X-Men. So, and it also helped in terms of the casting with getting Shakespearean actors for the roles, i.e. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. And we get to see, again, the basic of the X-Men universe, that is Magneto's point of view versus Xavier's point of view, which is more often than not kind of the main thing about the X-Men universe. That we have the somewhat extremist point of view and the more peaceful point of view. The one who wants to fight defending humans, the other who wants to fight for mutant rights, and will go to any lengths to do that. The second movie is more about humans against the X-Men, specifically, militant humans, as we're seeing with a very good comic book villain played by Brian Cox, General Stryker. And it's sort of adapting elements from the graphic novel God Love Man Kills, with a few other embellishments and whatnot, but still a very good X-Men movie, and here we see the difference between Stryker and Magneto. And Stryker, he wants to just use Xavier to take down all mutants, and that's it. Well, Magneto finds a way to turn this around and says, well, okay, if you're going to play by those rules, then let's go for it. Only we get rid of all humans. And, at the end of the day, the X-Men win out, and it's, again, a very good movie. So these two, I feel, are the best X-Men movies ever made, and you know what, Disney, good luck trying to make something as good as these. Now, moving on in terms of my favorites, X-Men First Class, which I felt had a great casting. You know, we have younger Xavier and Fassbender as a very good younger Magneto. Slight differences in terms of storyline and backstory and whatnot, but you know, that's movies for you. And let's be honest, you know, Marvel comic book movies have kind of rebooted things too. They've just managed to sweep it under the rug much more effectively, or people just don't want to call them out about that. I mean, notice how events of Iron Man 3 are sort of quietly ignored, or, you know, you get a little few lines of dialogue to reference it, such as Infinity War will reference it, but only in passing, you know. But we're also eager, or at least some people are, to notice the faults and defects of the Fox universe because it's not Disney. But anyways, I felt this was a good, you know, return for the X-Men franchise and a nice strong start, you know, getting things back on track. You know, after a couple of movies that went in the wrong direction, this got things back turned around. And, you know, it was, again, a very good and entertaining movie. Now, Days of Future Past is by far, probably I would say the third strongest, you know, after the first two movies. You know, again, I liked First Class, but I think because, again, it's Bryan Singer returning, it's a very strong entry into the franchise. And we get elements of, you know, the old franchise and the new franchise. You know, with, you know, Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart returning, the younger stars from the previous movie, with Wolverine to bridge the gap. And again, a good story, you know, how things are changing. And I feel this kind of, you know, rebooted things, that, you know, things were changed from the original franchise to be this franchise now, and this sort of, you know, shows that this is now the new set universe for the X-Men, and so on. But anyways, a very strong entry into the franchise. Now, my personal favorite is X-Men Apocalypse. Some people did not like this movie. I personally really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. I felt he did a very good job here. But there was, I felt a lot of Eastern European elements, and I felt this movie, as with Infinity War, it was like watching a graphic novel portrayed in live action. And by that I mean a graphic novel made up of different issues, each by different writers. You know, such as, you know, X-Men Age of Apocalypse, for example. It's different writers all creating one story that's linked together in one graphic novel. That's what I felt this movie was. It was like, say, what happens to Magneto is one issue, and what is happening to the X-Men is another issue, and all these separate issues are all melding in together to one final fight. And for those of you who complain about the Phoenix defeating Apocalypse, read the Ultimate X-Men franchise. Specifically, the very last one, which is X-Men. Read this volume if you have any doubts about Phoenix fighting Apocalypse. Ultimate X-Men, Volume 18, Apocalypse. Again, pretty much what you see in the movie of her defeating him is what we see in this comic. So, comics to film here, where, yes, indeed, something that we saw in comics is being portrayed here. It's just not a lot of people are picking up. And speaking of Age of Apocalypse, there we have Magneto pretty much tearing apart Apocalypse, which we kind of sort of see here. But again, all the X-Men team up against him. My point is, this is pulling things from the comics. It's going unnoticed for some people. But anyways, in my opinion, this was a very good movie, and I highly enjoyed it. Now, Logan is not only the best solo Wolverine movie, but the most emotional comic book movie ever made. And also Disney, good luck trying to recast Wolverine after Hugh Jackman. Seriously, good luck with that. But anyways, this was a very good movie. And it was a joy to behold. Again, highly emotional. I just watching it, I can't help but, cry. Seriously. And I'm so glad we got to have a live action, X-23. And if they were to have continued on the franchise, it would have been great to have a solo movie with her. Probably won't happen now, but anyways, a great movie for him and a great swan song for him. Then there's Deadpool 1 and 2. Both are very good movies, and Ryan Reynolds is so good as proper Deadpool. And both movies, very good for the Deadpool. And they kind of exist more in their own continuity. In the second one, we kind of see the younger cast from, Days of Future Past and whatnot. But, that was just, sort of just winking at the fans. Again, it was good to see both of these movies. They were highly enjoyable. The second one, kind of more, second-rate bathroom humor, but, whatever. I still enjoyed it for what it was. And, again, sort of more within their own continuity. The second one, it kind of poked fun at rewriting comic book history, where he uses Cable's device pretty much to undo everything and so on. But whatever. Still very good movies. Now, sort of within the same franchise, but slightly off to the side, are the two TV series. The first is The Gifted, and you guys know I liked Gifted. I did a whole review of the episodes, and I really hope we get those on DVD soon. I felt that it was a very strong entry into the franchise. Again, in terms of time frames, I felt it was sort of taking place before the events of Logan and so on. But again, I really enjoyed that series. We may not get a second season for that. But as long as I get it on DVD to watch over again, I will be happy. Then there is Legion. Again, sort of in the same universe, franchise, whatever, but no direct links. Again, we don't get to see Patrick Stewart in the mix. Now, I've only seen the first season. I've not seen the second season as yet. But it was very good. Very psychedelic, very comic booky. And very much, there's a movie called Existenz that came out in late 90s. Not as well known as Matrix. But a lot of the visuals for that movie, some of the things that happen in this series kind of remind me of Existenz, the way things happen and so on. But anyways, a very good movie, TV series for Legion here. Now, at the time period of making this video, I'm in the middle of reading some of the older comics. I haven't read everything. So my experience of Legion is his introduction in New Mutants and how he fucks shit up for Age of Apocalypse. That's it so far. I'll get to more later. But you don't necessarily have to know everything for, the character. Just some bits and pieces. So definitely, the Muir Island saga and what happens with Legion there, you kind of have to know for this series. But again, a very good series. Now, let's go to the other side of the spectrum. And, because I might as well, talk about everything. X-Men Last Stand, damn you, Brett Ratner, was not a very good movie. I bought it cheap, and again, just because, I heard Hugh Jackman was leaving the franchise, and already I was having separation anxiety. But, again, it has some nice visuals, not so much on story. I don't like how they did the Dark Phoenix saga, but whatever. Again, it was good to see. I just watched for Hugh Jackman. It's good to see him do his best, even though everything around him is crazy. But anyways, so this is just sort of just for fun and to make fun of. In that same vein, Wolverine Origins, which again, I bought cheap, and just because Hugh Jackman, and despite all the craziness around him, he does the best what he's given. Ryan Reynolds, not proper Deadpool, but it's great that he was, started here, but was able to do proper Deadpool later. But this is the movie that started it with him. But, whatever. It's just for fun, and again, to make fun of. The Wolverine, it was better than Wolverine Origins, I'll say that. The third act, it got really crazy. I mean, really crazy. But it was entertaining and enjoyable. But, anyways, at the end of the day, this is the franchise that we were given. I stand by my statements that I've made here. I'm not the type of person that just says something because everybody else is saying it. I go with my own views, my own opinions. I make decisions by myself, and, despite all the hatred for some of the fanboys and how quickly some of the fanboys hated on these movies just because they were owned by Fox, despite all that and their unpleasantness, I still stand by what I've just told to you guys today. And because I make up my own mind. So, before Disney changes everything, take the time to appreciate what Fox has brought us so far. Especially in a time period when superhero movies were not as popular. I mean, these first two again, look at when these two were made and how they changed in making comic book movies. I think actually, Disney, owes a lot to some of these early movies, in point of fact. Same for the Sony Spider-Man movies. So just, what, guys, just take the time to appreciate what we had and, to rewatch them, marathon it. I plan to sometime, so before Disney changes everything, let's all thank Fox for what they gave us so far. Some of it was great, some of it was so-so, some of it was not so great, but, fun to watch and fun to poke at, fun at. And that's all I have to say, guys. So, hope you've enjoyed my little video here. Take care and have a nice day.